Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The 21-year-old man accused of opening fire during a July the 4th parade near Chicago has been charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder. If convicted, the suspect would face a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Authorities reported the suspect fired more than 70 rounds from a rooftop at random people watching the parade in Highland Park in Illinois, and then made his getaway dressed in disguise to blend in with the panic-stricken crowd. Authorities said the man had planned the attack for weeks and had come to authorities' attention at least twice before on reports that he threatened suicide or harm to others. At least 7 people were killed and more than 3 dozen were treated in hospital for gunshot wounds and other injuries after the carnage in the Chicago suburb. Vice President Kamala Harris brought her condolences to officials in Highland Park.
This person will be brought to justice, but it's not going to undo what happened. And we're here for you, and we stand with you. And of course, as we always say, because it is true, our prayers are with you.
Russia's defense ministry spokesperson has said that Russian forces have destroyed 2 high-mobility artillery rocket systems in Ukraine. He said that the rocket systems were destroyed in a Ukrainian village near Kramatorsk. President Vladimir Putin warned the United States in an interview broadcast in June that Russia would strike new targets if the West supplied longer-range missiles to Ukraine for use in high-precision mobile rocket systems. Ukraine's state emergency services have released footage showing buildings on fire and firefighters battling flames after Russian shelling hit the southern Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv. Officials have said the shelling hit 2 areas in the city. In the main highway, in one area, 51 rescuers and 13 firefighters were involved in putting out the fires, while in a separate part of the city, 14 firefighters worked to extinguish the flames. South African mourners have gathered in the coastal city of East London on Wednesday to grieve the still mysterious deaths of 21 teenagers in a poorly ventilated local tavern 10 days ago. Dressed in black, they sang and danced to solemn gospel songs in front of 19 of the victims' coffins. According to officials, all of them were empty, as police were still investigating the deaths. The remaining 2 were buried separately by their families. One of Italy's most wanted men, mobster Rocco Morabito, has arrived in Rome after being extradited from Brazil, where he had been hiding. Known as the Cocaine King of Milan, Morabito was arrested in May last year in a joint operation by Brazilian and Italian police. The 55-year-old will serve a 30-year prison sentence for drug trafficking. The mafia boss spent decades on the run using a fake identity in South America. China's state broadcaster CCTV has shown footage of people being rescued from turbulent floods and inundated farmland after heavy rain hit southern provinces in the wake of Typhoon Chaba. A driver abseiled from a marooned vehicle to safety. Residents formed a human chain to transport students from an inundated school, and families were rescued using an excavator across Henan province. Village houses and farmlands were inundated by floodwater in Shaoguan city in Guangdong province. Over 1,000 people have been relocated. And finally, thousands of revelers wearing white clothes and red scarves have filled the streets of Spain's Pamplona as the bang of a firecracker kicked off the first San Fermin bull running festival since the COVID-19 pandemic struck in 2020. The annual event, which animal rights groups want banned for good, was cancelled in 2020 and 2021 due to coronavirus restrictions. The runs, during which 6 purpose-bred fighting bulls chase runners through Pamplona's narrow cobbled streets over a stretch of 800 meters, will start tomorrow and continue for a week. They are usually at their most dangerous over the weekend due to larger crowds. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Rafa Nadal overcame an injury to beat